The midnight shift at New Earth Medical Center was usually quiet, broken only by the gentle hum of diagnostic equipment and the soft patter of rain against windows. Dr. Sarah Chen sat at her desk, reviewing patient files while sipping tea that had long since gone cold. She had chosen this outpost on humanity's newest colony world because it offered her something the bustling hospitals on Earth couldn't: peace to practice medicine her way. A sudden flash of blue light filled her office, so bright it turned her shadow into a stark silhouette against the far wall. Sarah jumped to her feet, knocking over her forgotten tea. Through the wall-to-wall windows, she saw a crystalline ship touching down in the emergency landing zone, its surface rippling like water caught in zero gravity. The ship's hull melted away like ice under a hot sun, revealing two figures. The taller one, easily 7 feet high, cradled something in its arms that pulsed with a failing light. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. In 15 years of medical practice, she'd never seen a Lumini up close. Their crystal-based biology made them notoriously difficult to treat, and most human medical facilities turned them away. The tall Lumini's surface rippled with desperate patterns of light as it rushed toward the clinic entrance. Sarah hurried to meet them, her heart pounding. The automated doors slid open with a soft hiss, letting in the cool night air and the sweet scent of alien crystal, something like ozone and sea salt combined. "Please," the Lumini's voice resonated like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "My daughter," her song fades. "The other healing centers. They said they couldn't help." In his arms lay a smaller Lumini, her crystalline form barely larger than a human child. Where her father's surface shimmered with worried blues and greens, hers flickered weakly, like a candle about to go out. Each pulse of light grew dimmer than the last. "I'm Dr. Chen," Sarah said, already leading them to an examination room. "How long has she been like this?" "3 cycles," the father's voice chimed with grief. "We visited the ruins of the Crystal Singers. She was fine until—" His voice trailed off into discordant notes. Sarah helped him lay his daughter on the examination bed. The young Lumini's surface was warm to the touch, too warm for a crystal-based life form. Standard diagnostic equipment would be useless here. The other medical centers had probably relied on their AI systems, which weren't programmed to handle crystalline biology. But Sarah had always believed in starting with the basics. She pulled out her old-fashioned stethoscope, a gift from her grandmother when she graduated medical school. "I'm going to listen to her core resonance," she explained, placing the chest piece against the young Lumini's surface. What she heard took her breath away. Instead of the usual silence of crystal, she detected a complex melody, like whale song mixed with wind through caves. But there was something wrong with the rhythm, a dissonance that shouldn't be there. "I hear it," Sarah breathed. "Her song. It's being disrupted by something." She looked up at the father, whose surface now rippled with a mix of hope and fear. "What's her name?" "Star Melody," he chimed softly. "I am Dawn Chorus." Sarah nodded, her mind already racing through possibilities. "Well, Star Melody isn't going to fade on my watch. Human medicine might be simple compared to what you're used to, but sometimes the old ways see things the new ones miss." She reached for her medical tablet, already planning her next steps. Sometimes being the only one willing to help meant being the only one able to find a solution no one else had thought to try. Sarah's fingers danced across her tablet's surface, documenting the strange melody she'd heard within Star Melody's crystal structure. The young Lumini's light continued to pulse weakly, each flash growing further apart. Dawn Chorus hovered nearby, his own crystalline surface rippling with worried patterns that cast shifting shadows across the examination room. "The ruins you visited," Sarah said, setting down her tablet. "Tell me everything about them." She pulled her grandmother's stethoscope from around her neck and began fashioning a makeshift amplifier using spare parts from her supply drawer. Dawn Chorus's voice chimed like distant bells. The Crystal Singers were ancient, even by our standards. Their ruins hold the last echoes of songs that once shaped worlds. His surface dimmed slightly. The caretakers warned us about unstable resonances, but Star Melody was so excited to hear the old songs. Sarah nodded as she worked, connecting her modified stethoscope to the clinic's audio system. Children are always drawn to what fascinates them, no matter their species. The speaker crackled to life, filling the room with the complex harmonies of Star Melody's internal song. Dawn Chorus's surface flashed with surprise. You can hear her core melody. His voice resonated with disbelief. The automated medical centers said her crystalline structure was too alien for their systems to analyze. Sometimes the simplest tools see what the most advanced ones miss. Sarah replied, adjusting the frequency. She closed her eyes, letting the melody wash over her. Years of playing violin had trained her ears to detect subtle variations in tone and rhythm. There's a pattern here, like an echo overlapping the main song. She grabbed her tablet again, this time pulling up information about Earth's natural frequencies, the Schumann resonances that pulsed through the planet's magnetic field. The similarity struck her immediately. The ruins, she said, excitement creeping into her voice. They're still singing, aren't they? Not just echoes, but actual harmonics. Dawn Chorus's surface rippled with realization. The old songs, they could be resonating within her. Sarah was already adjusting her equipment. Not just resonating, they're trying to harmonize with her core melody, but the frequency is wrong. She turned to Star Melody, whose light flickered like a distress signal. It's like two instruments playing in different keys. The dissonance is disrupting her natural rhythm. She reached for a small device on her desk, a magnetic field generator she used for treating human nerve conditions. If I can match the frequency of the ruined song, and then gradually shift it, her fingers adjusted the settings carefully. We might be able to guide it into harmony with her own melody. The generator hummed to life, producing a low frequency that made the air tingle. Star Melody's surface responded immediately, her light pulsing slightly stronger. Dawn Chorus moved closer, his own crystalline form resonating with the combined frequencies. The other medical centers, he chimed softly. They didn't even try to understand. They just said their systems weren't compatible. Sarah carefully adjusted the frequency, watching as Star Melody's light began to pulse more regularly. Compatibility isn't always about having the right technology. Sometimes it's about being willing to listen in new ways. She smiled as the young Lumini's song grew stronger, harmonizing with the adjusted frequency. Besides, music is a universal language, even if that music happens to come from living crystals. The next few hours would be crucial. Sarah knew they weren't out of danger yet. They still had to carefully guide the invasive resonance into harmony with Star Melody's natural frequency. But as she watched the young Lumini's light grow steadier, she felt hope crystallize into certainty. Sometimes the best solutions came not from the most advanced technology, but from the willingness to try what others thought impossible. The first rays of dawn painted the clinic's walls in soft oranges and pinks, but Sarah hadn't noticed the passage of time. Her attention remained fixed on the delicate dance of frequencies between her equipment and Star Melody's crystalline form. The young Lumini's light had stabilized somewhat, but Sarah could still detect the underlying discord in her song. There's something we're missing, Sarah muttered, reviewing the frequency charts on her tablet. She'd spent the last few hours adjusting the magnetic field generator, trying to find the perfect resonance to complement Star Melody's core frequency. Dawn Chorus hadn't left his daughter's side, his own crystal surface reflecting the morning light in scattered rainbows. A notification pinged on her tablet. Incoming data from the Planetary Defense System's atmospheric monitors. Sarah had requested access to their magnetic field readings, hoping they might provide some insight. What she saw made her sit up straight. "Look at this," she said, projecting the data onto the clinic's main display. The planet's magnetic field. It's not static. It pulses in patterns, just like your songs. She turned to Dawn Chorus, whose surface rippled with interest. "Our ancestors spoke of worlds that sang," he chimed thoughtfully. "Most believed they were merely legends." Sarah pulled up another display, This one showing Star Melody's disrupted frequency patterns. They weren't legends. Earth has its own song. We call them Schumann resonances. And this colony world, she overlaid the two patterns. It's singing too, but in a different key. She moved to Star Melody's side, watching as the young Lumini's light pulsed in time with her internal discord. The ruins you visited, they were built by the crystal singers who could hear these planetary songs, weren't they? Dawn Chorus's surface flashed with surprise. Yes, they were said to build their structures in harmony with each world's natural resonance. Then that's it, Sarah exclaimed. The ruins are still in tune with this planet's magnetic field, but Star Melody's core resonance is attuned to your homeworld. When she tried to interact with the ancient songs, she trailed off, her mind racing with possibilities. Sarah rushed to her equipment, making rapid adjustments. We need to create a bridge between frequencies, like a musical modulation that connects two different keys. Her fingers flew over the controls, programming a gradual shift that would mirror the planet's natural magnetic pulse. The air in the room began to vibrate with a complex harmony as Sarah's modified equipment generated overlapping fields of magnetic resonance. Star Melody's surface responded immediately, her light display becoming more animated. But something unexpected happened. Where the different frequencies met, tiny aurora-like patterns began to dance in the air. It's working, Sarah breathed, watching as the magnetic fields made visible the interaction between planetary and crystal harmonies. Her core frequency is beginning to adapt, finding a middle ground between her natural resonance and the planet's song. Dawn Chorus moved closer, his own crystalline form beginning to shimmer in response to the harmonic convergence. The colors, they're like the ancient light songs our history speaks of. Sarah carefully monitored Star Melody's readings as the frequencies continued their dance. Your people might have been the first to hear the songs of worlds, but you weren't the last. Humanity has been studying Earth's magnetic voice for centuries. We just never knew it could be used to heal. As the morning light grew stronger, Star Melody's illumination steadied, her surface beginning to pulse with a new rhythm. One that wove together her own crystal song with the subtle music of their colonial world. It wasn't a perfect harmony yet, but Sarah could hear the discord resolving, note by note, into something new and beautiful. Sometimes, Sarah said softly, watching the aurora-like patterns swirl around them, healing isn't about forcing everything back to how it was. Sometimes it's about finding a new song altogether. Sarah's eyes burned from exhaustion as she studied the complex wave patterns dancing across her screens. The magnetic harmonizer she built from modified medical equipment hummed steadily, maintaining the delicate balance between Star Melody's crystal song and the planet's natural frequency. But something still wasn't quite right. "Your light is stronger now," she said to Star Melody, whose crystalline surface shimmered with more vigor than before. "But we need to do more than just stabilize you. We need to help your core melody adapt." Dawn Chorus, who had been maintaining a quiet vigil, chimed softly. "On our homeworld, the healers would use the auroras to restore damaged crystal harmonies." His surface rippled with remembered beauty. "The celestial lights would dance with our songs." Sarah straightened in her chair, an idea taking shape. The aurora. She quickly pulled up archived footage from Earth's polar regions on the main display. "Look at this. Earth's magnetic field creates light shows when it interacts with solar energy." The screen filled with sweeping curtains of green and blue light, dancing across Earth's night sky. Star Melody's surface brightened noticeably at the sight, her own lights beginning to pulse in rhythm with the recorded aurora. "That's it," Sarah exclaimed, her fatigue forgotten. She turned to Dawn Chorus. "Your people's healers weren't just using the aurora as a light show. They were using it to visualize magnetic field interactions." Her fingers flew across her tablet, making rapid calculations. "We need to create our own aurora, right here in the clinic." She began reprogramming her equipment, reconfiguring the magnetic harmonizer to produce visible wavelengths along with its resonant frequencies. The aurora is created when charged particles from the sun interact with Earth's magnetic field. If we can replicate that process on a smaller scale. The air in the examination room began to shimmer as Sarah adjusted the settings. Slowly, delicate ribbons of light started to form, weaving between the medical equipment. Star Melody's crystal surface responded immediately, her own lights reaching out to touch the artificial aurora. Remarkable. Dawn Chorus chimed, his voice harmonizing with the humming equipment. It's like watching the healing chambers of home. Sarah monitored the readings carefully as the light show intensified. The artificial aurora wasn't just for show. It was making the magnetic field interactions visible, allowing Star Melody's crystalline structure to naturally align with the healing frequencies. Your people understood something we're just beginning to grasp, Sarah said, making minute adjustments to maintain the delicate balance. The connection between light, energy, and healing isn't just metaphorical. It's fundamental. Suddenly, Star Melody's surface burst into brilliant illumination, her lights synchronizing perfectly with the artificial aurora. The young Lumini's crystal song, previously discordant, began to resonate clearly through Sarah's monitoring equipment. The conflicting frequencies, Sarah breathed, watching the readings stabilize. They're not fighting anymore. She's learning to sing in harmony with both her native crystal song and the local magnetic field. Dawn Chorus moved closer to his daughter, his own surface glowing with joy as their lights interacted. You've done what our most advanced healing centers could not, he chimed. You saw past our alien nature to understand the basic principles of life itself. Sarah shook her head, smiling. I just listened to what was already there. Sometimes the best medicine isn't about imposing our own solutions. It's about helping the body find its natural balance. She watched as Star Melody's lights danced with the aurora, creating patterns that seemed to bridge the gap between human and Lumini understanding. Besides, she added softly, music and light speak all languages, even if those languages happen to come from different stars. The artificial aurora had been dancing through the clinic for 6 hours when the first warning signs appeared. Star Melody's surface began flickering in an irregular pattern, her crystal song shifting into higher, more unstable frequencies. Sarah's equipment registered the change immediately, sending out a cascade of alerts. Something's wrong, Sarah muttered, her fingers flying over the controls. The harmonizer's steady hum had taken on a different pitch, one that made the hair on her arms stand up. The frequencies are amplifying each other. Dawn Chorus moved closer to his daughter, his own crystalline surface pulsing with concern. Her core temperature is rising, he chimed, the musical notes of his voice tight with worry. Like in the ruins, just before. Sarah's mind raced. The ruins' ancient songs had triggered this crisis initially, and now their treatment was causing a similar reaction. But why? She pulled up the magnetic field readings, watching as the waves grew more intense. It's not just amplification, she realized, studying the pattern. The frequencies are resonating, like a feedback loop, building on itself. She looked at Star Melody, whose light was now bright enough to cast shadows on the walls. The treatment isn't just helping her adapt, it's awakening something. The young Lumini's surface suddenly blazed with intensity, forcing Sarah to shield her eyes. The artificial aurora around them began to twist and swirl, responding to some unseen force. Medical equipment throughout the clinic started to malfunction, screens flickering with static. The ruins, Dawn Chorus chimed urgently. They held more than just songs. They contained the essence of the crystal singers themselves, waiting to be awakened in those who could hear them. Sarah's hands moved swiftly across her controls, trying to stabilize the magnetic field. Star Melody isn't just hearing the old songs, she said, understanding dawning. She's becoming a crystal singer herself. The treatment created the perfect conditions for the transformation. The room filled with pure crystalline notes as Star Melody's surface began to pulse with complex patterns. Each wave of light carried a different harmony, layers of song building upon each other like an otherworldly symphony. The artificial aurora responded, weaving itself into increasingly intricate designs. We can't stop it, Sarah realized, watching her equipment's readings spike. But we can guide it. help her channel the energy safely. She began adjusting the harmonizer, not to dampen the resonance, but to provide a stable framework for it. Dawn Chorus's voice rang out in a series of sharp, urgent tones. The last crystal singer transformed over 1,000 years ago. The process nearly shattered her crystal matrix. If Star Melody's core can't handle the energy, she won't shatter, Sarah said firmly, continuing her adjustments. Because she has something the ancient crystal singers didn't, a bridge between frequencies. The treatment didn't just help her adapt to this world's magnetic field. It taught her how to blend different harmonies into something new. Star Melody's light pulsed even brighter, but now there was a pattern to it. A rhythm that matched both her own crystal song and the planet's magnetic pulse. The artificial aurora swirled around her in tight spirals, no longer chaotic, but moving with purpose. Sarah watched the readings carefully, making subtle corrections to help guide the transformation. She thought of her grandmother's old stethoscope, which had first helped her hear Star Melody's song. Sometimes the simplest tools opened the door to the most profound changes. "Listen," she whispered, as new harmonies began to fill the air. "She's not just singing the old songs anymore. She's creating her own." The transformation reached its peak as midnight approached again, marking a full day since Star Melody had first arrived at Sarah's clinic. The young Lumini's light now filled the room with shifting patterns that told stories in color and sound. Each pulse of light carried fragments of ancient songs woven together with new melodies. "The energy readings are stabilizing," Sarah announced, watching as the chaotic spikes on her monitors gradually settled into regular waves. She had dark circles under her eyes from 24 hours without sleep, but her hands remained steady on the controls. "Her core temperature is coming back down to normal levels." Dawn Chorus moved closer to his daughter, his crystalline surface reflecting the dance of lights around them. "The patterns," he chimed softly. "They're like nothing I've ever seen. Not even in our oldest records of the crystal singers." Sarah nodded, making a final adjustment to the harmonizer. Because she's not just channeling the old songs anymore. She's creating something new. A harmony between past and present, between your world's crystal songs and this planet's magnetic voice. Star Melody's surface rippled with new awareness as her transformation continued to settle. The artificial aurora still swirled around her, but now it moved in perfect synchronization with her pulses of light. When she spoke for the first time since the change began, her voice carried layers of melody that made the air itself vibrate with joy. "I can hear them all," she chimed, her voice containing harmonies that brought tears to Sarah's eyes. The old songs, the planet's rhythm, the magnetic dance of stars, they're all part of the same great symphony. Sarah watched in amazement as Star Melody raised one crystalline arm, causing the aurora-like lights to gather and swirl in response to her movement. The young Lumini had not just survived the transformation. She had mastered it, finding a way to bridge the gap between ancient power and modern understanding. "The other medical centers," Dawn Chorus said, his voice rich with emotion. "They would have suppressed these changes, trying to force her back to what she was. But you," he turned to Sarah, his surface shimmering with gratitude. "You helped her become what she was meant to be." Sarah smiled, thinking of all the times conventional wisdom had said something was impossible. "Sometimes healing isn't about following the usual protocols," she said. "It's about listening to what the patient needs, even if that need takes them in an unexpected direction." Star Melody's light pulsed brighter as she turned towards Sarah. "You heard my song when others said it was impossible to understand. You saw the path forward when others saw only barriers." The young crystal singer's voice carried harmonies that seemed to touch something deep in Sarah's soul. "Will you let me show you what I can hear now?" Before Sarah could respond, Star Melody began to sing. It was unlike anything Sarah had ever experienced, a symphony of light and sound that painted the story of the universe itself. Through the song, Sarah could feel the pulse of distant stars, the dance of magnetic fields between worlds, and the deep harmonies that connected all living things. When the song ended, Sarah found her cheeks wet with tears. She understood now why the crystal singers had been so revered in ancient times. They weren't just musicians or healers. They were bridges between worlds, able to hear and share the fundamental songs of existence itself. "Thank you," Star Melody chimed softly, her light now steady and strong, "for helping me find my true voice." News traveled fast through the crystalline networks of the Lumini. Within days of Star Melody's transformation, Sarah's small clinic had become the center of attention. Crystal ships of various sizes and configurations appeared in the morning sky, their surfaces catching the sunlight like suspended rainbows. Sarah stood at her clinic's window, watching as another group of Lumini approached. Some came seeking healing, others hoping to understand how a human doctor had helped awaken the first crystal singer in over a millennium. Star Melody remained at the clinic, her newly developed abilities proving crucial in helping Sarah bridge the gap between human and Lumini medicine. "Their songs are so different now," Star Melody chimed, standing beside Sarah. Her surface rippled with gentle light patterns that made the air shimmer. Each one carries a unique harmony, waiting to be understood. Sarah nodded, checking the modifications she'd made to her equipment. The original harmonizer had been refined with Star Melody's help, allowing them to better visualize the complex frequencies within each Lumini's crystal matrix. "Doctor," a melodious voice called from the doorway. The Lumini healer named Morning Light entered, his surface displaying the intricate patterns that marked his profession. "The results from our latest collaboration are remarkable. The blend of human intuition and our crystal harmonics." His voice chimed with excitement. "We've been approaching healing too rigidly for centuries." Sarah smiled, remembering how skeptical the first Lumini healers had been. Now they worked alongside her, learning to combine their advanced understanding of crystal harmonics with human medical practices. Each day brought new discoveries as they found ways to help patients that neither culture could have achieved alone. Conquerors emerged from one of the treatment rooms, where he'd been helping a newly arrived family understand the process. His surface glowed with quiet pride as he watched his daughter work. Star Melody had become more than just the first new crystal singer. She was a bridge between worlds, helping others understand the songs that connected all living things. "Another ship from the homeworld arrives tomorrow," Conquerors chimed softly. "They say the High Resonance Council itself wishes to understand what happened here." Sarah felt a moment of nervousness at that news, but Star Melody's light pulsed reassuringly. They need to understand that this wasn't about advanced technology or complex procedures. The young crystal singer chimed. It was about someone willing to listen to a song everyone else had dismissed. Morning Light moved to the monitoring station, his surface reflecting the dancing lights of the medical displays. "For generations, we thought our crystal songs were too alien for other species to comprehend. We built our healing centers with that limitation in mind." His voice carried a hint of regret. "We never considered that understanding could flow both ways." Sarah watched as Star Melody began working with their newest patient, her light merging with the artificial aurora to create a diagnostic display unlike anything in human or Lumini medicine. "Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come from stepping back from our assumptions," she said. "Seeing with new eyes, or in this case, hearing with new ears." The clinic hummed with healing frequencies as human and Lumini worked together, each bringing their unique perspectives to the art of healing. Outside, the crystal ships caught the setting sun's light, sending rainbow cascades across the colony's buildings. To Sarah, it looked like the sky itself was singing. "We're just beginning to understand what's possible," Star Melody chimed, her voice carrying the harmonies of both worlds. "When we open ourselves to new songs, we find music everywhere." 3 months had passed since Star Melody first stumbled into Sarah's clinic. The small medical center had transformed into something extraordinary, a place where crystal songs and human medicine danced together in perfect harmony. Today, they were celebrating their 100th successful treatment, and the clinic's main room sparkled with the light of dozens of Lumini gathered for the occasion. Sarah stood near her old examination table, now modified with crystal resonators that Star Melody had helped design. The young crystal singer moved through the crowd, her surface shimmering with joy as she greeted both human and Lumini visitors. Each pulse of her light carried echoes of healing songs that made the air itself come alive with possibility. "I remember when you first arrived," Sarah said softly as Star Melody approached. "That night, I had no idea we were about to change everything." Star Melody's surface rippled with gentle amusement. "And I had no idea that being turned away from all those advanced medical centers would lead me to exactly where I needed to be." Her voice chimed like silver bells. "Sometimes the universe's song guides us in unexpected ways." The celebration paused as Conquerors stepped forward, his crystalline form casting rainbow patterns across the walls. "The High Resonance Council has made their decision," he announced, his voice carrying harmonics of formal proclamation. "This clinic will become the first joint medical academy in known space, a place where both humans and Lumini can learn to heal together." A wave of musical tones filled the room as the Lumini expressed their joy. The human medical staff, who had learned to understand the basics of crystal songs, smiled at the harmonious display. Barriers that had once seemed insurmountable had dissolved in the face of shared purpose and understanding. "There's more," Conquerors continued, his surface brightening. "They've asked Sarah to help establish similar centers on other worlds. The combination of human insight and Lumini crystal healing has proven more effective than either approach alone." Sarah felt tears in her eyes as she looked around at what they'd created. Her grandmother's old stethoscope still hung around her neck, now modified with crystal amplifiers that helped her hear the songs of healing more clearly. It reminded her daily that sometimes the simplest tools, used with understanding and compassion, could unlock the greatest mysteries. Star Melody moved to the center of the room, her light pulsing with purpose. "Let me share a new song," she chimed, "one that tells the story of two worlds coming together." The air filled with crystalline music as Star Melody began to sing. Her voice painted pictures in light and sound. A small clinic on a colonial world, a desperate father seeking help for his daughter, a human doctor who dared to listen to songs others thought impossible to hear. The melody spoke of transformation, of barriers broken, of healing that went beyond the physical to touch the very essence of understanding between species. As the song reached its crescendo, the other Lumini joined in, their harmonies weaving together with the hum of human medical equipment. The artificial aurora that had once been experimental technology now danced through the clinic as naturally as sunlight, responding to the symphony of healing that had become their daily work. Sarah watched as human doctors and Lumini healers moved together in the light show, their differences forgotten in the shared mission of helping others. She thought of that first night, when she'd chosen to try what others had deemed impossible, and smiled. Sometimes the greatest healing came not from the most advanced technology or the most complex procedures, but from the simple willingness to listen to a song no one else could hear, and in that listening, teach others how to sing along.